Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today I want to make a video talking about my top 10 books that I think the new Goosebumps show should adapt into TV episodes. Yeah, there's a new TV show in case you haven't heard about it. It's coming out, I guess, in the next year or so. Hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully it'll be really good. And the thing is with Goosebumps, it was the introduction to horror for a lot of people. I was a 90s baby, but I didn't really get exposed to Goosebumps till I was like in the early 2000s, I would say, when the reissues first came out for the books. And I saw VHS tapes at Hollywood Video. That's what got me into this show. And I remember being scared of things like The Haunted Mask 1 and 2. Not a Living Dummy 3 may or may not be the first thing I ever saw from Goosebumps, and it scared the crap out of me. There's a lot of Goosebumps books out there. There's like 300 of these things. I own all of them at the current moment, thank God. Over time, I finally bought them throughout the year last year. I owned quite a few before that, but still. And I'm really thankful that I got to read enough even of the newer stuff, that I have some ideas for what I think would be really good, in whether it be this first season or in future seasons, to have some really good episodes to adapt. Again, this is my top 10 currently for me personally that I'd love to see. Not really completely in any kind of order, just stuff I'd rather see sometime soon. I don't really have, to my knowledge, any kind of rehash slash remake slash reboot ideas for this. It's just kind of books and Give Yourself Goosebumps books, Series 2000 books, Most Wanted books, different types of books like that from the different series of Goosebumps that have been going on for a long time now that I would like to see adapted, and I think it'd be fantastic ideas for the TV show to really do something special with. My number 10 spot goes to The Haunted School. It was one of the classic books from the classic series, one of the later books too. Really late on. There were 62 original books. It was one of the later books, and it was a fantastic read. Everything from the cover's nostalgic to just everything about it is so spooky and eerie. I love it. It's like a Twilight Zone feel to it. Basically, about a school that has like a section in the school kind of marked out that nobody really remembered until the kids accidentally found it. The main character finds it with somebody else that he's friends with. And they get kind of trapped into an area with this really creepy room that has like mannequin-looking things. Apparently it was a memorial to a bunch of students had just vanished one day. Very, very spooky little read. Not the scariest Goosebumps book, but it's pretty creepy for what it is. I like it. I have a review here on the channel for all of these books on this list, as a matter of fact. Somewhere on my channel, in my playlists and whatnot, but that's one of them. Haunted School is definitely a book that I've reviewed here on the channel that I really enjoyed. Anyway, book number 9 is a newer book. It's from the Most Wanted series. It's a book that I really like a lot, and a lot of people don't talk about or give enough credit to how good this was. Zombie Halloween. Zombie Halloween was a fantastic book. The premise was really interesting to me. It kind of started off with a prologue, and some of the newer Goosebumps books have prologues, and they're typically gory. Goosebumps 1 of The Haunted Mask is probably one of the most frightening, scary, and bloody Goosebumps books I've ever read in my life, and it was fantastic. I loved it. It's one of my favorite books I own from the series. I own numerous copies of that because I adore it so much. Zombie Halloween, very much like Goosebumps 1 of The Haunted Mask, has a very gory opening. The beginning of the book is basically a bunch of kids that are just hanging out in like the 50s, I think is what it was, or the 40s or something like that. And they find out that underneath the main character's house there are tunnels that have zombies inside of them, and it actually connects to a cemetery across the street, underground, as a matter of fact. And the main character, after the prologue, which is now modern day after the prologue, his grandfather keeps going out there to the cemetery in the middle of the night, and it's freaking him out. And they also have some neighbors that moved in that are kind of weird and spooky and odd too. And that neighbor thing is okay. It's kind of a weird subplot in the book, but I really like the main story, the whole thing with the tunnels and the zombies. It's great. It's great. I think the TV show could do something really special with that, especially in modern day. If they're going like the whole haunting hour type of show style, I think they could do a really good job with this that would frighten everybody. Moving on, excuse me, I can't talk. It's late at night. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Moving on to number 8, I think this is one that a lot of people would agree with me on. The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. How in the world could they pull that off in the old 90s TV show? They didn't. They didn't even try, honestly. They didn't even try to make the TV show adaptation for that. I get it, but I would have loved to have seen it back in the day. That would be a fantastic episode to do now. It really would be, with the CGI capabilities and the budget and everything else. If it's taken seriously, they could do something really special with that. And I think a lot of people would love that, because it's a lot of people's favorite book from the whole franchise. So I'm excited for that, for sure. I hope they do it. It could be great. Number 7 is one that a lot of people probably don't even know about or have even read, for that matter. It's a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, if you're not exposed to my channel, or Give Yourself Goosebumps for that matter, it's a choose-your-own-adventure book. This particular book is one that I read recently and I raved about. It's one of my favorite books ever from Goosebumps. It is called One Night in Pain House. It's a special edition of the Give Yourself Goosebumps book. I believe it was book number 4 of the special editions. And it's basically two kids on Halloween night, they're best friends. They decide to go and sneak into this really creepy house that the main character had actually seen a horror movie based on too. And the house is haunted. And there's some really scary stuff in here, especially the closet scene. If you've seen the closet scene, that's a scary book, man. It has some creepy things in there that really got to me. A lot of weird, bloody things in there, too. There's some books out there from Goosebumps and from Stein himself that have some gore in them. This is one of them. It was kind of freaky, honestly. That'd be a great one to adapt. Even though it's a choose-your-own-adventure book, you can kind of figure out your own style with the premise alone and do something really cool with that. Book number 6 on my list, I almost lost track of what I was looking for. Book number 6 that I would recommend adapting is another Give Yourself Goosebumps book. It's probably my current favorite at the moment. It's called Little Comic Book Shop of Horrors. Very, very, very good story. Of course, this book is one of those Give Yourself Goosebumps books that kind of divide on a choice of what you get to do for your adventure that you're going on. You can either stay upstairs and get into comic books on a stack, on like a rack stand thing in the comic store, and you get sucked into the actual comic book, kind of like an Attack of the Mutant type thing. And you get involved with all these different people, like this X-Men parody called the Y-Men, or the Wise Guys is what it was, because there's Professor X in the X-Men series, there's Professor Y and the Wise Guys, and yeah, they do a lot of Marvel parody stuff, a lot of Superman parody stuff there. But if you go in the basement of the building, of the comic book shop in that particular book, if you choose to go down there, you encounter like the Wolfman and the Mummy and Frankenstein's monster and all these creatures from the Universal Monsters films, and it was so creepy. It was fantastic. I loved both options. That book is such a great book, and I recommend it tremendously. It's a little expensive to find right now, but it was good. It was really, really good, actually. I think it could be a fantastic direction to go either way, either the basement route or the upstairs comic book stand rack thing. I think it could both really work. If you go either way, it'd be fantastic. Number 5 on my list is a recent book from Slappy World series, which is the newest Goosebumps ongoing series going on. Going on, whatever. It's Alive, It's Alive. I loved this. Basically, a girl and her friend are developing a robot, as Razorfist calls it here on YouTube, and the robot, for whatever reason, is able to laugh and move itself somehow. Nobody knows how. Artificial intelligence is a scary, scary thing. It's something that terrifies me. It's something that, as far as I know, Goosebumps has not really touched on very much, and it would just blow my mind to see Goosebumps do something really cool with this. Because, like, there's a scene, for example, in the book that has stuck with me for a long time, that the main character wakes up in the middle of the night hearing that weird irk laugh that the robot does. And she opens up her bedroom door, and the thing is just standing at the end of the hallway looking at her doorway, getting ready to probably walk towards her door, but how is it doing it? We don't know. It shouldn't be able to do these things and walk on its own and do these crazy things because it's not alive, you know? It's Alive, It's Alive is a very cool Frankenstein-type retelling. I really love it. I think it has a fantastic plot twist, a couple of twists, actually, towards the end of the book that really worked for me. I loved that book. I did a huge raving review on that as well. Book number 4 that I'd really love to see is one that I've talked about numerous times about this new Goosebumps TV show that's coming out, Ghost Camp. I would love to see Ghost Camp get adapted into a really great TV episode, 2-parter specifically type thing. I think it would scare people so bad if you adapted that book, that old classic series 90s book, into a TV episode. I think it would scare people so bad. I think it'd scare kids so bad. That book is frightening. It's genuinely scary, and I think it's amazing. I love it. There's no blood, no gore, nothing. It's just plain out, creepy, urban legend feeling type stuff, and it would work so good for Goosebumps. It really would. It's a shame that there is no original TV series adaptation of that story, because it's so good. It would be hard to adapt that, I'd be honest with you. But it's so great. It would work so well, and I think people would really, really, really love it. Number 3 on my list is one from the Series 2000 that I really, really, really loved. I talked about this recently back in October on my top 5 Halloween books. This one is Headless Halloween. It's Series 2000 book, like I said. And Headless Halloween is fantastic. Basically, a kid just is wearing a mask. He likes to prank people and pretend like his head's not on. He'll like tuck his head into his jacket and stuff and zip it up over his head like all of us did in the 90s. The 90s were a great time to be a kid. I can testify to that. Even school was fun in the 90s. It's not anymore. But anyway, the kid basically gets lost on Halloween night and gets into this creepy Twilight Zone type area. And it works so well. The ending is fantastic. The reveals and the plot twists are amazing. I love it so much. It's such a scary, atmospheric book, and it works so well. It has this very, almost, if Goosebumps was able to accomplish a Silent Hill type feeling and invoke that in you as a reader, it happened there. Headless Halloween totally did it. I wish I had the books here to show you the cover so you'd know what to look for, but I'm sorry I don't have them right now. Some are at my fiance's house where I'm moving my stuff over to currently, because we're about to get married at the end of the year. Some of my Goosebumps books I've already read are over there, so I don't really have anything here that I can show you currently. But Headless Halloween, check that one out. It's a fantastic one. Number 2 on my list that I would love to see adapted, if we finally get a reveal of a very good-looking, slappy ventriloquist dummy for the TV show, because there's probably going to be a new one for this show, more than likely. I would love to see Slappy's Nightmare get adapted. I would love to see that book get adapted. It's a Series 2000 book. It's very, very, very much one of the books that people would say is probably the scariest of the Night of the Living Dummy series. And I'd probably agree with that. I hate the ending of the book. I think the ending of the book is one of the most dumb, stupid, obvious plot twists ever, and it sucks. But the rest of the book is genuinely frightening. If you've seen the baby scene in that book, the crib scene in that book, it's terrifying. Basically, the book is the idea of you're seeing everything through Slappy's perspective, and he actually has to do 3 good deeds, or he just, I guess, dies? I guess. It's a very dark book. I did a review for that here on the channel, too, in case you want to check out more about what that book is about. Slappy's Nightmare, if they changed the ending, it would work fantastic. It'd be a fantastic Goosebumps book, episode, adaptation, whatever. The ending, the fight scene at the ending, before the horrible ending happens, which is like the last chapter of the book, is fantastic. I think a lot of people would really, really, really dig that. I think a lot of teens and kids that love Goosebumps would really like that as well, especially big Slappy fans like myself. The last thing on my list, number 1 on my list, that I think would be the most crucial and important, not only to newer generations of kids, but to the older generation like myself who grew up on the old TV show, Night of the Living Dummy. In the old show, we had 2, we had 3, and we had Bride, all adapted into TV episodes, and they were all great for the most part. I think episode 2, or Night of the Living Dummy 2, whatever you want to call it, is not that great. It's a little silly, but I love Bride and I love 3. I think both are fantastic. I did reviews for all those TV episodes here on my channel, but the original Night of the Living Dummy has a lot of kind of a problem surrounding it. Nobody really knows if it was ever made. Some people say that it was and it premiered in their town, they just don't remember it, they can't find it anywhere. Some people say it was never made at all because it would be too scary for kids. Some people say they started making it and that it was too scary for kids, so they didn't show it. Whereas Night of the Living Dummy 3, in my opinion, is very scary. I can't see the first one ever being scarier than that, but maybe it was, I don't know. I would love to see what would happen with that. I would love to see what all they could do with this first book and really adapt it, and something really scary with Mr. Wood and Slappy himself. For anybody who doesn't know the story of Slappy, or not a Slappy, of Not a Living Dummy, the first book ever that started this whole infatuation that the fan base had with this ventriloquist dummy that comes to life, was the idea of 2 twin girls. One finds a ventriloquist dummy inside of a dumpster, and she takes it out and she rescues it. And eventually the parents realize that the other daughter, the other twin, starts getting all kind of jealous, you know, because the other kid is making money and doing shows and stuff off of this ventriloquist dummy they started doing all these pranks with and everything. And that person gets a ventriloquist dummy too from the parents. And they start competing with each other all the time, but then some crazy things start happening around the house. You could do a really cool, scary thing with this that I think would bring in kids and adults to watch it, especially older fans who really, 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 like myself, have wanted this show, or this book, adapted for a long time now. It would be the right time to do this. I think it'd be one of the best things you could possibly do in the first season of the show, maybe even the first episode of the whole brand new show. Do Not a Living Dummy, the original book, number 7 from the old classic series. You can't go wrong. And as I said in my previous video as well, the best possible way to do that is to just make Slappy look exactly like the old Tim Jacobus artwork from the original book, the old red and yellow book. Have that picture brought to life, the same mouth that moves up and down with the neck and everything. Do that. Do that image as your Slappy. Do that whole book as an episode, or a 2-parter, more specifically. And you will win over the entire fan base immediately, I'm telling you. Trust me on this, Sony. But anyway, that's my top 10 books I would love to see adapted. Again, these were not original episodes that were remade for this new show. I would love to see these top 10 things adapted for the first season of the show, or even the second season, or anything like that. I still stick with my idea that the first season should just be the old classic books. But again, I included some other things here that I think would be some good ideas for one-off episodes and, you know, some sequel seasons. and stuff. I think they could be great. I hope the show's fantastic. I'm really excited for it. If you haven't seen the old show, you should check that out as well. If you haven't read any of these books on this list, I'd recommend all of them. Every single one of these books I've read and reviewed here on the channel, so you can check out those reviews if you wanted to anyway. But I recommend checking out all those books. I think all of them are really great. I think they all have a really cool premise for an idea for an episode that could be really great with this show, with the right people making the show. But anyway, what are your top 10 things that you think should be adapted book-wise from Goosebumps? Put those down in the comment section. I'd love to see what you have to say. I'd love to see your lists. I'd love to see what people think would be the most important things to adapt for the new TV show into episodes from the books. Anyway, put your thoughts down below. Put your lists down below. I'd love to see all that. And thank you for watching. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.